Welcome into WagerTalk's Last Call. I'm Meghan Payton. It's the show that gets you all involved. If you're new here, the rules are simple. It's simply you guys control the show. It's that easy. You head over to the YouTube live comments. Let us know any questions you have, last minute bets, plays. We have a great panel today to break it all down. Tony Mejia, Adam Trigger, Bryan Power. The Prez makes his first appearance on Last Call. It's all going to be fun here because there's a lot going on in the world of sports. We have the NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs, MLB. We'll talk whatever you want. Korean baseball as well. Adam Trigger is going to break that down. Let's start with the NBA, though. That has been the topic of conversation. It's been the biggest storyline as of late. And Bryan Power is here to break it down. Bryan, you've been doing fantastic in MLB. We got to start there before we go into NBA. You're up 61.3 units in MLB since last October. How are you? And what all do you have going on at WagerTalk?
Doing great, Megan. Feels like we just spoke yesterday on the air, and I had talked about that I had a 5% MLB play last night going, and I am very proud to report this morning that 5% MLB play won. Mother Nature called it early on the Braves, but we'll take it nevertheless. And 2-0 Friday sweep, and said some correct things on the NBA show as well on both games. So feeling really good heading into the weekend. It was a great Friday, and looking forward to talking about the Saturday docket here with you.
Yeah, Bryan, you were all over it on the NBA tip-off show yesterday. So if you guys want any basketball advice, now's the time to hop in. But make sure you are asking Bryan any questions. He can talk MLB, basketball, whatever you want. Head over to the live comments. Let's pick Bryan's brain. I know one game we're looking at. That's tonight's game. Suns, Nuggets, round two, game one. Nuggets minus 3.5. The total's at 226.5. This is a star-studded series, Bryan. We're going to see some of the best players in the league right now. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Jokic. These two teams have played 4 times this season, but it's been kind of weird because Jokic was hurt for a couple. Durant wasn't even a member of the Suns. So it doesn't feel like we can use the regular season as accurate history when handicapping these two teams. So overall, what do you expect for this series? And then let's break down game one.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Megan. Those 4 regular season meetings, throw them right out because Denver, while they win the first 2, as you mentioned, that was before Durant arrived in Phoenix. And the Suns, they win twice late in the season. But the Nuggets, they didn't just sit Jokic in both those games. They sat a lot of key players. So there's not a lot you can discern from any of those matchups. Now, what we do know, obviously, is both teams have a lot of offensive firepower among their ranks. And they're each going to be coming off 3 days rest coming into the series. Little bit extra than normal, and it leads me to believe we could see a little bit of rust here, Megan, at least early on. Now, no one's going to confuse Minnesota with Phoenix. Minnesota, of course, was Denver's first-round opponent, but the Nuggets held the T-Wolves to an average of just 105.4 points per game in the first round for the season at home. Denver, number 3 in the league in points allowed, 109.8 at home. The under, 6-2, the last 8 here at the Ball Arena. And where Denver does struggle, Megan, on the defensive end is defending the rim. But guess what? Among all playoff teams, Phoenix takes the fewest number of shots at the rim. So I don't think they're necessarily going to be able to exploit that weakness on the Nuggets defense. Both teams, believe it or not, rank bottom 10 in pace. The Suns, when they face the Clippers, once Kawhi Leonard was out of the lineup, they look to push that pace. That's not going to be the case here, especially I think in this first game. I expect a little bit of a feeling out process. Fewer possessions than normal. I know the Suns' first round series was high scoring. I think that's given us a good number here in game one, Megan. Similar to yesterday, I gave out the under on Lakers Grizzlies. That was a number that dropped initially, then came back up. This number was as low as 224.5 24 hours ago. Now, you mentioned it's back up to 226.5. Love the under in game one of Suns Nuggets at this current number.
Bryan, you bring up a good point. A couple days ago, we saw it at 224.5. That's what it opened at. Now it's at 226.5. If we do like the play of the under, should we wait for it to go up, or do you think this is about as good as we're going to get it?
I would not be surprised if it went up a little bit more, to be honest with you. I would maybe wait and see. Obviously, tip off not till 8:30 Eastern. We've got some time, so I would stay tuned to the Wager Talk odds page, see how that line moves. But I would not be surprised if that number ticked up. Obviously, the public loves to bet overs. They know about the reputation of these two teams. And so, yeah, I would actually wait and not to bet this under, Megan. That's a very good point.
All right, so both of these teams in the first round only had to play 5 games, ended up getting to eliminate their teams in the first round. This feels like a 7-game series to me, and I could be buying into the media narrative with these star players and Jokic, Durant, Booker. Do you expect this to be a short series or gonna be one that can go to game 7?
Well, what's fascinating about this series, Megan, is you've got Denver, the number one seed, but Phoenix is the betting favorite to come out of the West. Obviously, so much changed once they acquired Kevin Durant. Denver is a difficult team to beat at home. So they need to hold serve at home to lengthen this series. If you are going to ask me who I think is going to win this series, I would say Phoenix is going to win this series. Uh, but it's going to go longer than 5 games. They caught a break in that first round with obviously the Clippers losing Kawhi. Denver's going to need to steal a game. Well, if they hold serve, I guess they can win it in 7, right? Obviously, all they have to do is win all the home games. But, if they lose one home game, I think they're in trouble because this is not the same team away from home as it is in the thin air of the Mile High City.
So, Brian, I kind of think of the NBA as a whole, and you know me, I love to bet on futures. So, you mentioned Suns being the betting favorites, despite the Nuggets being that top seed. Is there any value in the futures market? And don't get mad at me. I know I do this every time, but I love to find some way to get some plus money. Anything that you would be eyeing in the futures market for NBA?
I like Suns Celtics as the NBA Finals matchup. I said it before the playoffs started. I still like it now. Obviously, the other half of the bracket in the West, I'm not really scared of Lakers or the Warriors Kings, whoever comes out of Game 7 tomorrow. And in the East, obviously, Boston gets a huge break with Milwaukee getting upset in the first round. I do view Boston Philadelphia as de facto Eastern Conference final. Whoever wins that series will beat the Miami New York winner in the Eastern Conference finals. But I like Boston in the East, and I like Phoenix coming out of the West. So, yeah, that would be my NBA Finals projection. Held it the whole way.
I like that, Brian. Straightforward to the point. We got a futures bet. Ghosted has a question in the YouTube live comments. Reminder: this is the point of the show. You guys control it. Ask Brian whatever you want. He's here to talk MLB, NBA, whatever you want. Ghosted says, "Should I wait to jump on the series price here? I feel like Denver has good value right now." I'm guessing no
Well,
because of what we just discussed.
yeah. I was going to say you're going to get better value, especially if they drop Game 1. So, no, I would actually wait and see because I think that you're going to get better value here.
All right, we got a couple more that I'm just going to read out. Brandon says Denver's core has played better together for 2 years. Durant hasn't even played 15 games in Phoenix. However, we could fight that back, saying the short time that KD has spent with Phoenix, it's been incredibly impressive and probably one of the best trades that we've seen in recent history. What would you say to Brandon's comment?
It is a small sample size, yes, but the efficiency numbers with Durant in the lineup, especially when the Suns are at full strength, are pretty incredible. And there's a reason they are the favorite to come out of the West, Megan. I mean, because you just look at, while it is again a small sample size, Phoenix at full strength is, in my opinion, the best team in the Western Conference.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Brian. Let's switch gears to MLB. We have 15 games on the slate. I'm going to put you on the spot here. We don't have to go through each one, but overall take on how it's been betting on the MLB. You've been fantastic. As I mentioned early in the show, you're up 61.3 units in MLB since last October. What's been your approach to MLB, and is there any games that you're going to be eyeing today?
Well, I do have 2 games on the docket. I joked with your next guest, Adam Trigger, before that I've become a bit of a square betting account here in April because
Oh,
it's funny that I think early in the season the books are a little slower to catch on to just how much better the good teams are and how much worse the bad teams are. Case in point, last night, who did I take? The Atlanta Braves and the Tampa Bay Rays. I mean,
yep.
it's no secret these are 2 very good teams, but both of them were available very cheap prices, I thought, in the morning. I jumped on it, and there you have it. It was a 2-0 sweep. So, you look at today's docket, Atlanta, again, that this is a free play on my page. The price is a little steeper today, but I like the Braves to beat the Mets again. I just think the Braves are simply a much better ball club than the New York Mets. So that's a free play that people can take to the window here in MLB on Saturday. Braves over the Mets.
Brian, you've been on a roll. We've got a lot of love coming in on the YouTube live chat for you, thanks to your plays on the NBA yesterday. And I'm thanking you in advance for the plays that you're giving us out here for free today. So we appreciate you spending your Saturday morning with us here, breaking down NBA, MLB. Go cash some tickets today. Remember, he is plus 61.3 units in MLB since last October. You can find Brian at WagerTalk.com. Have a great Saturday. We'll catch you here next time.
You too, Megan.
All right, reminder, guys, we've even got Korean baseball on the slate for today to discuss. So, this is the time. If you have questions, take advantage of the 3 more panel members that we have on Saturday. They help you get your bets. You can get a lot of free plays, and sometimes we can get more plays out of them than they even decided they were going to discuss. I think, like the other day, we got someone to give a free 5% play out. Our next guest, Adam Trigger, he's a regular here at Last Call. He's been the #1 handicapper at WagerTalk the last 365 days with 201.4 units gained. He's got a 5% MLB max play out tonight. Lots going on. Adam, tell us about how you've been and what you have at Wager Talk tonight.
Hey, Megan, I've been great. I mean, April's been a little bit of a break even type month. I had such a good March with March Madness that April's been a little bit of a battle. MLB and KBO both kind of hanging right around even, but it's the beginning of a really long season. So the good news there is if you're new and you're maybe looking for someone to jump on with, I haven't like really hit my stride in either yet, which is when you should be buying. Let's just put it that way. Just that's the only sales pitch I ever like to do, Megan. And this goes for me or any other handicapper. Don't buy, don't wait until someone's 10-0 and then try to hit like game number 11. Try to find someone that's been consistently good that, like I'll just use myself for example. Last 365 days, I'm #1 at Wager Talk. The last 4 weeks, they've been pretty average, probably netted out about even. So I think it's a great time to jump in with me. I've got a 5% play that goes this afternoon in Major League Baseball. Got a nice winner in Major League Baseball last night with the White Sox, +1.5. A game that Brian and I were joking about because we were on opposite sides and we both won. He had the Rays. I had White Sox +1.5. Both of them winners with the Rays winning 3-2. So it's going fine, and I love the card today. Hopefully, we've got a couple winners, and I'm going to give one of my 4%ers out on this show.
Free play coming up, Trig. We already have love in the comments from you saying you're on a roll. And that's why we love you here because you're going to give us some free bets. We got one game in particular you're looking at Royals Twins in Minnesota, a low total at 7.5. I saw it move up to 8.5, I believe, on some books. We have Sonny Gray, Brad Keller. Sonny Gray's been really sharp. He's 3-0, a .62 ERA. How are you approaching this? What leans do you have in this one out in Minnesota?
So, Megan, I want to make something clear. If Sonny Gray's not pitching in this game anymore, that's probably the reason for the total moving up, and it
Oh,
is
good
part of
call.
my handicap. Yeah, so you want to make sure if you're going to bet this game, list your pitchers and make sure Bailey Ober is the starter for the Twins. That's very important
Ah,
because if it was Sonny Gray, this would be a no play for me, and that's why it's very important to list pitchers, which I've done on this bet. So Kansas City Royals +1.5. I got this, as soon as the pitching change occurred, I put this up for my clients. I got like +102. It's like even money most places, -105. Royals +1.5 is the play. And I think you're going to find that price basically that, like across the board. I would take anything up to -110 here on Royals +1.5. And let me just talk about the Royals in general first. So I do Twitter Spaces every Thursday. It's free on my Twitter. I basically do an hour of MLB and KBO discussion. It's interactive, so it's kind of like this show where you can come by, ask questions, jump in the chat. One of the things I talked about on Thursday was wanting to jump in with the Royals at some point during this series. For the reasons I discussed on Thursday were Royals. They're hitting the ball hard, and they've got guys like Bobby Witt Jr. MJ Melendez. I found this fascinating, Megan. He has the highest exit velocity of anyone in the league this year. Any hitter in the league is MJ Melendez on the Royals, highest exit velo for any hitter. So the Royals are hitting the ball hard, yet they're in the bottom 5 in virtually every offensive category. Dead last in on base percentage, right, down at the bottom in batting average, home runs, slugging percentage. And it's just hard to believe a team that's hitting the ball hard is going to have zero offensive success. It's just very just standard, like highest level thought you could have, Megan. Right? Like if you hit the ball hard in baseball, it's probably going to translate into hits, which are eventually going to translate into runs. So I think you get a buy low opportunity on the Royals right now. And the Twins are a team that I'm willing to play against. I've talked about the Twins since the beginning of the year being a team that I kind of, want to fade at some point. I don't like their offense. I think that this offense outside of, Buxton, Correa, and maybe like the 1 through 4 is very top heavy. They are one of the slowest teams in the league, Megan, which means they're probably getting the least benefit of these new rules that have increased stolen bases. So they steal as little as any team there is in Major League Baseball. And here, if you look at what's made them successful so far this year, the Twins, it's been their starting pitching. And if you throw Kenta Maeda out, who just went on the DL and is the reason that the Twins shuffled their rotation a little bit, and they're going to start Bailey Ober in this spot, it's because their starting pitching has been fantastic. Now, Ober has made one start this year. It was against the Nationals, one appearance this year. It was very good. But he's a guy that I don't think he should be -1.5 with no juice at home. I think that's a high price for him. He's a good pitcher. He's had success at AAA. He's actually had success for the Twins in stretches, but here on sort of short notice, getting called up, he's a guy that I'm willing to play against. And the Royals, who are starting to hit the ball, have seen him. I just don't think he's gonna have anything that the Royals can't really handle here. The same might be said for Brad Keller. The Royals pitcher is not a guy that I'm in love with really backing. Like, he's not someone that's on my play on list, but he goes out there, he battles. He's probably going to keep the Royals in this game. And with a visiting team on the +1.5 line, Megan, that's really pretty good. I mean, if you can be in the game and you're getting plus money and +1.5, and you're the visiting team where you get the extra at bat, meaning you've got the at bat in the ninth inning. If the Twins are in the lead, they're not batting in the ninth inning. So they essentially have to beat you in 8 innings, beat you by more than, 2 runs. I just don't think I think it's less likely. I think the Royals have a great chance to win this game. Lost the first 2 games in the series, good bounce back spot. And we're getting a free run and we're getting plus money on it. Too good to pass up for me, Megan. So Royals +1.5 is a client play for me, 4%. I really think they probably win this game.
Adam, grateful to have you here on Saturday to talk pitching changes because that impacts the handicap. And that's one of the best things about last call is those changes are here and you're ready to talk
Yeah,
about
and
them
Megan,
before.
real quick, that one was very unclear this morning. So, like, what you saw with Sonny Gray, some people might still be seeing that. I don't know if every
Yeah.
site has switched this over. So make sure if you go to bet the Royals that your book is listing over, or you just bet at action. If you don't know, just play at
Yeah.
action because it's over's going to be the starter.
All right, let's switch over to Toronto. We've got a little bit of a higher total here. AJ Cool J dash YT YouTube says, do you see Toronto scoring over 9 altogether? Toronto at home versus Seattle.
Well, I like Kevin Gossman. So here's the problem with Seattle right now. They're a team I want to play on in theory, but their starter, Chris Flexen, former Doosan Bear, former Korean baseball, KBO 2020, he was one of the best pitchers on the Doosan Bears team that went to the final. He pretty much parlayed that into a contract with the Mariners, pitched excellent in 2021, but this guy has been a big regression candidate since. And really this year he shouldn't be starting games. So Chris Flexen was not great as a starter last year. The Mariners had every intention to make him the long relief guy out of the bullpen, but injuries have forced him back into a starting role. And I don't like that role for him. So I've been willing to play against Chris Flexen as a starter, but I like Gossman. So I don't know if I want to play this over. Maybe you isolate that and look for more like a team total over with the Blue Jays, or try to just like find your way onto the Blue Jays here. The problem here is the line. I wouldn't lay -1.5. It's just, I don't like doing that with home teams. So I'm not going to like argue with like the fact that this could definitely play over and the Blue Jays could get most of them. But I think if this does go over, it's probably going to be Toronto doing most of the damage. So, just take that into consideration when you're making your bet.
Speaking of team totals, we got a new guest in the chat. Big Dog says, any comments on Reds team total over 4.5? eyeing that as the play of the day, but I need to hear from one of the best on it.
So it's tough to trust the Reds on the road. And the problem with the Reds here, and I'd have to like sort of go and like run those numbers. I don't bet a ton of like team totals, so I would need to like really like dig in and find out if you're getting the right value. But my guess is you're probably not. And the reason I say that is the Reds, they're 2-9 on the road this season. They have not hit on the road at all. And they just had a night last night where they put up a bunch of runs. Now, KBO connection again. Last night's starter for the A's, Drew Rucinski, was on the NC Dinos in Korea the last 4 years. He was on the DL. So he's another one that pitched extremely well in Korea. The A's gave him a contract. He goes on the DL with a hamstring injury to start the season. And up until like a couple hours before the game, the A's didn't really know who their starter was yesterday. And they ended up pushing Muller back to today, giving him the extra day of rest and going with Rucinski, which I don't know. I mean, is that the best spot for him? He makes his MLB season debut in a spot where he wasn't really sure he was the starter till a few hours before, coming off a hamstring injury, first sort of action of the season. So I don't know if the Reds may be a little bit overvalued in that regard. So I probably would be hesitant to jump in with the Reds on a team total over, just knowing that they've struggled on the road and they've struggled offensively on the road. So I don't know that I want to sort of trust them to score today, especially after last night's outburst.
Trig, we have a lot of questions coming in about the game out in Mexico. Tony Mejia is going to break this one down. This is one of his games that he's eyeing, but just quick thoughts on the total here. It's really high. It's at 15.5. And this is because of the elevation in Mexico, thin air, expecting to be a really high total. How are you approaching this game? Is it a bet on game or kind of a shy away from?
No, I won't have any action on this game. Megan, I want to know who at DraftKings lost their job because they posted this at 8.5. They probably didn't realize the game was in
Right.
Mexico and altitude. Anyway, I mean, 15. Here's what I'll equate it to. It reminds me of the Yankees Red Sox games in London a few years ago, and the total was like 13, and it went over in the first inning. So,
Yeah,
um,
exactly.
you know, Ben Carey from Capwise is a friend of mine. We like kick it back and forth, and he was actually the one that posted the DraftKings tweet. He said, "Oh, I think they messed this up. That this is they think this game is over in San Diego at Petco Park or what have you." But he kind of threw it back and forth and estimated like you play over anything like 13, 15 and a half. You might be getting a bad number at this point, but it's not to say it won't get there. I don't know if I could take an over 15. I'm not saying it won't hit, but it's certainly not a bet I'm going to make. And I'll leave that one for Tony. I don't have a real opinion in that game.
It sounds like we should have gotten on it at 8.5, clearly, over at
Yeah, I guess. Yeah,
DraftKings. Right?
that
That would
was
have
a
been
bet I
nice.
liked right there. Yeah,
That would have been a 5 percenter. All right, Adam Trigger,
yeah.
we appreciate you joining us here at Last Call, breaking it all down. MLB, KBO, NBA, he's got it all. Adam Trigger up at WagerTalk.com, number one at WagerTalk the last 365 days with 201.43 units gained. Don't forget, check out his 5% MLB max play up at WagerTalk. We appreciate you joining us here. Go cash some tickets. We'll catch you next time on Last Call.
And thanks for having me, Megan.
We'll keep the MLB discussion going on. Mejia's going to break down that game here in a bit. We have some NHL to talk about. And for the very first time on Last Call, we have to welcome in Lawrence Presman. The Prez, thank you very much for joining us. It's been months since we've been on a show together. I don't think you like me anymore. I haven't been invited back to Wager Talk today. So we're going to have to discuss this off screen, but we appreciate you joining us here at Last Call. Number one in profit since October 1st. You're 3-0 in NHL. How are you?
Megan, I'm doing great. I'm excited about today. It's my father's 78th birthday today. So we're going to talk about the Leafs in Tampa Bay, and that game starts at 7 p.m. Eastern, and so does my father's birthday dinner. I called him up on the phone. Well, Megan, I called him up, and I'm like, Dad, I'm streaming the game at dinner on my phone. He's like, no, you are not. It is my birthday dinner. I'm like, okay, no problem. Then I won't be coming to your birthday dinner. So
Prez, we got to fix
yeah.
this. You got to be at the dinner. Dad comes
Well,
first.
no, I got it. We hired a mediator, and we have compromised. I can have the
You've come
phone
to.
on, streaming,
Ah,
but I have to still remain engaged. But I wouldn't budge. I wouldn't budge, Meghan. Anyway, great show, super fun, informative. Really enjoying listening to everyone, but I am upset, and I'm upset with the people in the chat room, Meghan. So
oh,
before I get into my game, I don't 205 people watching this show live, 19 likes. Guys,
hey, get some likes going. You're right, Prez.
yeah, guys, let me explain how this works. We love you all. We're so appreciative that you guys come in to listen to our shows, whichever show it happens to be. But we are in a competitive environment against a lot of other entities that post video content online, and YouTube gets to decide which videos they throw at people. They decide that based on an algorithm. That algorithm is heavily weighted towards how many people subscribe to your channel, how many likes you get, how many comments you get inside of the live chat, and how many comments you get once the video goes up. So please work with us. Meghan deserves this. She's on the
Aw.
West Coast. It's 8:30 in the morning and she has makeup on. Hit that like button, please. Okay, I'm
Prez,
done.
we're going to have you every Saturday. You're really pumping us up. We're already at 42 likes from 19 in those 30 seconds. I think you've got to not only be our handicapping expert on the show, but like the marketing manager, everything that's getting us this show to
Yeah, I
continue.
was everything. Me and Johnny Detroit were everything for many, many years.
I know.
But
And now you've
luckily,
retired that gig.
yeah, I have retired that gig. Johnny can continue. He is the craziest thing, and nobody knows this about Johnny, but like take Dave Koken, one of the most legendary
Yeah.
handicappers on the planet. Johnny's better at his job. There is Tom Brady called Johnny and he's like, dude, how do you get that good? And Johnny's
Yeah.
like, I read books, I work hard, I got a great family, good partners. Tom's like, I want to be you.
Oh, exactly. But Prez, really excited to have you on here. Happy birthday, Dad. We got to get you out in time because if you're going to be half paying attention at dinner tonight, hopefully you can make up for it by spending the day with him. A big NHL game, though. We got to talk Leafs Lightning. Tampa gets out of Game 5 elimination, forces a Game 6, and now they look the former, not defending champs of last year, but the year prior. They also made it to the Stanley Cup Finals last year. If there's any team that can pull this off, it's Tampa here. How are you approaching this one? Can the Lightning get it done and force a Game 7?
So, full disclosure, everybody who watches any of my shows and knows anything about me know that I bleed blue. I'm all about the Leafs. Teddy and I spoke about it many times on air on Wager Talk today. I can't seem to get rid of my fandom. I don't cheer that much for the Blue Jays until they get into the playoffs. I don't care about the Raptors at all. I literally cheer like crazy for one team, and we have a toxic relationship, a relationship I'd like to get out of, frankly. I just don't know how. Every year I get very excited, a whole lot of hope, and every year they break my heart. So please understand, I will be cheering for the Leafs tonight. However, with that said, I'm happy to discuss all three of these games, but from a Toronto Tampa Bay perspective, I think the under is the play here, Megan. It is 6.5 as a total, and look, they've played 5 games and 4 of them have gone over. So, people would sit there and say, hey, this is a high scoring series, but it just doesn't work that way. One would argue that the fact that 4 out of 5 went over suggests it'll come back to the means and we'll start getting unders. But the bottom line, Megan, is, and we see this in NHL playoffs series all the time, the deeper these playoff games go, the tighter their sphincter pucker factor is, the tighter the on ice space is, and the better the goalies play. And especially with Andrei Vasilevsky, we saw him play outstanding finally in Game 5 against Toronto. We saw a 4-2 score in the Toronto Tampa Bay game, and one of those goals was an empty netter in the last game. I think we're going to see a 4-2 score again here. I think we're going to see a 3-2 score with a potential shot in an empty net. And I look at this and I think to myself, man, if it's 3-2 with 5 to go, unless the team down ties it, we still have a goal to spare on 6.5 with that empty net to go under. Not only that, but I think Tampa Bay is in a situation where they have to win this hockey game. Otherwise, they're out. And one of the things we know about Tampa is, what style do they want to play? Which team tonight is going to carry the pace? Well, if you go back and you take out game 2, I think Tampa Bay has carried the pace the entire series. I think the series has been slow, methodical. I think that the shots have been down. I think the Tampa Bay is keeping Toronto on the outside, shooting from up high against Vasilevsky. And Tampa Bay is not a scoring juggernaut team. So what does Tampa Bay want to have happen here? I don't think Tampa Bay wants to play a 6-5, 5-4, 4-3 hockey game. I think they know if the goals are in the 7s and up, they're going to lose this game. I think they're going to slow it down. I think they're going to really shorten the space, forecheck like crazy. Toronto, as you've watched, struggle to get into the Tampa Bay offense with any type of rhythm. 6.5 is a big number for me in an elimination game. I think the only way this game goes over is if Toronto is up, say 4-1 with 6 minutes to go, and Tampa Bay just throws all hell to the wind and pulls their goalie with 6-7 minutes, and you get a whole bunch of empty netters. Other than that, I really like the under in tonight's game.
Yeah, Prez, 6.5 seems incredibly high when you look at Vasilevsky, his improvement. He looks like he's back in form. It's a bad sign for the Leafs. I know you're a big fan, but that would be what I'd be worried about. Another total in one of the games tonight we're looking at coming in from our live chat. Ghosted's looking at Oilers Kings. Should he keep throwing the over on there? 6.5, the total for that one as well.
It's funny, Megan, because the same type of arguments conceptually that I'm using on the Toronto Tampa Bay game does apply to the Edmonton LA Kings game. We have an elimination game. Edmonton wins, LA's out. Again, the team who's going to be eliminated is playing at home. And again, the team who's going to be eliminated if they lose is a team that wants to play a slow, methodical game. The LA Kings have the best defense in all of hockey. They've really, other than one game, they've really been able to shut Edmonton down. The problem for me and why I would rather bet the under in the Tampa Bay Toronto game is I struggle. I'm waiting for Connor to really break out, to have one of those games where he comes out and puts up 4 points. And I think it could technically happen tonight. I would rather you guys bet Edmonton in regulation tonight than mess around with this total. What happened last year was Edmonton was down 3-2, won the last 2 games, so they got through against the LA Kings, winning Game 7. I don't think Edmonton wants a Game 7. I think this is a more veteran team now, a team that has gone through their ups and downs in the playoffs, and I think they go into LA and they know they need to win this game tonight. I'm leery of the total because I think I could make an argument for both the over and the under, but I do like Edmonton to finish the series tonight.
I'm laughing right now, Prez. I'm getting distracted because there's a conspiracy theory going on in the comments. Is Dad not a Maple Leafs fan? Is that what it is? Is he a Tampa fan, maybe?
So my dad is a Maple Leaf fan, but you got to understand, we're South African, and I moved here when I was 9 years old. My dad was already in his 30s, and by that time, he was bleeding cricket, soccer, and rugby. So he never really grew up with the passion of a Leaf fan. However, I called my dad on Thursday night around 5 o'clock, 2 hours before game time. And he answers the phone like this. He calls me Lolly. Lolly, you taking me to the Leaf game tonight? Oh my God, I'm so excited. It's on my bucket list to go to a Leaf playoff game. I'm so pumped. When are you picking me up? I'm like, Dad, I just got off the golf course. What are you talking about? We're not going to the Leaf game tonight.
Oh.
So he's like, but I need to go to the Leaf game. I'm like, Dad, the tickets are crazy expensive. Call your rich son. So he's like, okay, I'll call my rich son. So I ended up speaking to his rich son last night. We went to see Classic Albums Live play Supertramp, and his rich son did say that he would take all of us to a Leaf game, a playoff game, either next year or later on in the playoffs. So my dad is a Leaf fan. However,
Yep.
unlike me, my dad puts his family before the Leafs. I put the Leafs before family. So that's sort of
Makes
where the
sense.
discrepancy is. But ultimately, yeah, my dad is a Leaf fan, but he honestly could care less.
Dad just wants the tickets. I kind of understand it now. Now he's just holding out. He's like, I'm not going to watch this game. Let's go in person, or let's not do it at all. All right, before we let you go, Prez, Beantown Ike says, do the Bruins win in Game 7 against Florida Panthers? That game's tomorrow night.
Well, I'll tell you right off the bat, I hope not. With that said, I actually haven't looked at the line yet. So, for me, it's about the line. It's not about whether they win. Minus 230 will not be betting that play. However, one thing we know about, Boston is, and when I say we know, all Leaf fans know, you don't want to play Boston in a Game 7 in the first round. I mean, that's one of those situational plays that just come through year after year after year. This is a veteran hockey team. With that said, man, their sphincter pucker factor must be at an all-time high. This is a team that, 2019 Tampa Bay Lightning set the record for the most wins in a season, 62 wins. They went into the first round and got swept by Columbus. Here we have a team that is in the same position, albeit they won't get swept, but they just set the record for the most wins in the season, and they are up against it. And I think you have a situation here where Florida is just going to play with zero pressure whatsoever. I would take the over, guys. Minus 230 for Boston playing against a team that's loose with zero pressure and that has a ton of momentum is not a good bet. But I do think, like last night, and I released it to my clients, I went 3-0 last night, Megan. I do think the over is the right play.
Lawrence Presman, first-time guest on Last Call, marketing promo for Last Call, getting our likes up. 3-0 in NHL. You've been the most profitable expert since October 1st. We're really excited to have you on. We hope you come back. Hope we didn't scare you away. We're here Thursdays and Saturdays, Prez. Thank you very much for joining us. Hope to catch you next time. Go cash some tickets tonight and have fun. Happy birthday, Dad.
Thanks, Megan, and I'm happy to come on anytime. I told all the listeners at WagerTalk today I don't get a chance to show my handicapping chops on that show. Teddy does all the heavy lifting. He asks all the follow-up questions, does his big game breakdown. It's like Teddy is the guy that sounds smart on that show, and I'm the guy that sounds like a silly idiot just trying to make you laugh. So, I've decided to come on to these shows, First Pitch, etc., Puck Time, to show, my handicapping chops and my ability to break down games and sort of my thought process. So happy to come on here. Happy to see that we're up to 75 likes. Let's get to 100. Do it for my dad.
Yes, happy birthday, Dad. Thank you, Prez. Appreciate it. All right, no espresso from Prez. Normally we see that in the show. Maybe he's already had it today. All right, Tony Mejia has been patient. So, guys, go ask Tony. Let's get his thoughts on MLB, NBA. He breaks it all down. He's been waiting patiently to come on. Tony Mejia, thank you very much for joining us here on Saturday. You're on a 10-2 run on 5% max plays, number 1 on max profits. I've been seeing a lot of you this week, and it's been really enjoyable. I'm excited to break down a couple games for you. How are you, and what do you have going on at WagerTalk?
Megan, I'm disappointed. 125 points from the Lakers, and we couldn't get the over last night, so that's why it's 10-2 instead of 11-1. I was really happy about the max play last night, and I was really confident, too. We had Tony Brothers and Curtis Blair, and honestly, I blame John Morant because he completely gave up. Dennis Schroeder was in his back pocket all night. But at the same time, you've got to put your head down and you've got to be the leader on that team. And he absolutely wasn't. And Desmond Bane got shut down as well. And that backcourt was the driving force for the Game 5 win. And then Game 6 completely disappeared. And I thought, no doubt. I have two eyes. Anthony Davis controlled the game and controlled the paint. But you can't go into Xavier Tillman when you're watching that and have him giving up 3 inches and getting a shot block left and right. You've got to force the issue, especially with 2 whistle-happy refs. So it was a completely disappointing performance. And the fact that the Lakers had 100 points through 3 quarters gave me some hope. I mean, we needed 52, 53 points into the fourth quarter. And I'm like, all right, we'll have a full quarter of garbage time. Lakers scored 25. You would imagine that for pride's sake, that the Grizzlies reserves would at least beat the Lakers in the fourth quarter. They managed 18 points. Guys like David Roddy didn't show up. We fell 9 to 10 points short of getting that over, and the Grizzlies shot 30% for the game. So back at it tonight, and we have a max play on Suns Nuggets. It's on the total. I won't divulge, but we will go ahead full force into handicapping this contest. It's a really exciting game one for a series that everybody views as a toss-up. And then we'll also talk some baseball and an astronomical total down in Mexico, as I heard you mention with Adam Trigger.
Yeah, this is what I love about you. You've got 10-2 as your streak, and you're talking about the one of the 2 losses. But that's how your brain works, and I know you're going to bounce back today. So let's talk about this Suns-Nuggets game. Round 2, first game of this series. The storyline's just these star-powered guys. We're seeing Devin Booker, KD, Jokic, and it's going to be fun to see these 3 all play together. When I was talking with, I believe, Bryan earlier, we were talking about how the 4 games they played in the regular season, it's hard to use that as history because Jokic was hurt. Durant wasn't even a member of the Phoenix Suns. And this is going to be a great series. I think this is going to be a competitive series. We won't break down total because we want to encourage our audience to go and get that play up at WagerTalk.com. But how can we handicap this series or just game one from a prop perspective?
Well, it's wild. First of all, full props to Zach Lowe because he broke it down. He said that Kevin Durant and Nikola Jokic haven't even been on the same court as opponents since May of 2021. Because of Durant's injuries. And these 2 teams have actually played twice since March 31st. The first game of those, no Jokic, no Murray, no Michael Porter Jr. And the most recent one in April, Aaron Gordon actually joined them on the bench. And the Suns were at full strength because they were making that push to try to get the highest seed possible. And Denver was kind of coasting because they knew they had the number 1 seed. The last time we saw these teams together, I think it was punctuated by that fight in the stands where that Suns fan kicked everybody's ass, and it went viral. And then the Suns followed suit because they swept the Denver Nuggets. Now, granted, there was no Jamal Murray. Everybody remembers Nikola Jokic getting ejected out of Game 4 for that, basically smacking campaign. So not great memories for Denver, and they'll look to exercise some demons tonight. So maybe there's some momentum there, numbers-wise. It's gone from 2.5 to 3.5, favored the home team Denver, and the total has gone from 236 to 237.5-ish. So certainly the money is coming in on the over. Referees tonight: Mark Davis, Josh Tiven, Trey Maddox. Maddox has historically been an over ref, but has actually come down a lot this season. Josh Tiven is somewhat whistle happy, and Mark Davis is not. Mark Davis is the crew chief, so there's that.
Yeah. From a just serious perspective as a whole, it's going to be very interesting, and I agree with you. I think that there's a lot of different angles here, especially given that's a fun stat about Jokic and Durant not having played on the same court in that long. How about series total? Like, do you think this could go to 7 games? Do you think it's going to be 6? How competitive is the series going to be?
Yeah, I mean, it can obviously go to 7. I think, the experience factor in terms of playing together favors Denver, clearly. The fact of talent meshing, it favors Phoenix because now you've got DeAndre Ayton as your 4th best player. Role players have really stepped up. Torrey Craig had a wonderful series against the Clippers. And now we'll see if Craig stays in the starting lineup, because the reason he was in the starting lineup in the first place was because he was viewed as a better matchup for Kawhi Leonard. Well, will he stay, or will it be Josh Okogie now in the mix? Because Denver has maybe more perimeter-oriented players. So we'll see what Monty Williams does with that. Is today going to be a feeling-out process? It could be, and that would lend itself to the under, or it could be a situation where both teams just go at it talent-wise. And we see that Jamal Murray has really taken off. He's averaging 27 points per game for this postseason, shooting 48%. So he looks like he's himself again. And Devin Booker has taken some of the reins from Chris Paul in terms of playmaking, and that's part of the rationale for my best bet on this game prop-wise, and it's to fade Chris Paul and his 8.5 assists, which you can do at plus money tonight. Paul has actually gone under 9 assists, which would be the winner here. 3 of the first 5 games of the of the postseason. He had a 9 assist game and a 10 assist game. The rest were 8 or lower. And in the regular season, the 3 games where he played in April, because they didn't play a ton in April, he did not have that total at all. So 8.5 assists for the point guard, it's very conservative. But given the way that Phoenix has played of late, I think it's a little too high. So plus 110 at DraftKings, I would lean towards the under there.
Right. Keep the CP3 conversation going. Ghosted says, I feel like Chris Paul curse continues. He knows this is likely his last chance, though, and he could turn it up for the Suns. I lean more with you, Mejia. He could, but he hasn't, and I don't expect that to be much different. You can finish your thoughts on that. But one thing that I know, I've been backing Andy Lang a lot on this one, is Jokic triple-double. It's been really consistent, which sounds crazy, but that's just how good he is. So we're maybe leaning the under on Chris Paul. How about Jokic triple-double? Is that something that you would eye?
Oh, I mean, you can always eye Jokic triple-doubles. The pace that he does that at is historic. I mean, he's more consistent at triple-doubles than guys like LeBron James and Magic Johnson. I mean, he's going to end up surpassing them both rather easily by the time his career is over. Look, they're going to play through him, obviously. DeAndre Ayton is a really good help defender, a really good, when you place him in the middle of your defense, he can move his feet, obviously. But Jokic is so much bigger. And DeAndre Ayton, one thing he's not is a steady rim protector. I mean, he can block some shots, but he really isn't going to be a factor if Jokic wants to bully him. It just depends on, and I think Jokic will get his boards. Jokic will get his little buckets on hooks and stuff inside. It really is, how is he going to be the hockey assist guy where his first pass leads to a second pass, or is he going to be the direct, you cut and I'll find you, which is how he gets most of his assists. So we shall see. But yeah, certainly the prop god is on the right track, and you're on the right track tracking, tailing him in terms of Nikola Jokic triple-double numbers being solid to follow.
Here, before we let you go, we got to talk some MLB, specifically this high total game out in Mexico. Giants Padres, a total of 15.5. We mentioned the elevation, clearly giving a reason for this high total with the thin air. Right now, you can see Padres at minus 184 on FanDuel. What do you expect to happen in this game in any way that we should be in particularly handicapping it?
Yeah, this is Estadio Alfredo Harp-Helú, he is the owner of the Mexican, what is it called, the Mexico Diablos, and he is actually a bank magnate. He was the president of the biggest bank in Mexico. So this is his stadium. The dimensions, 325 down both lines, 400. So I mean, it's a smallish ballpark, 400 to straight center. And obviously, you mentioned the altitude. So it seems like a small ballpark. Stat Daddy, Ralph Michaels, props to him. I had him run the numbers because he's great at that, as you know. We've had 17 games in the MLB since 2002 with a total of 14 or higher. Ironically, 8 of the first 9 went over from 2004 to mid-July. Since mid-July, the numbers are actually favoring the under 6-1-1. Within that span, and we haven't had one of these since 2019. 13 of those games have been at Coors Field, 3 of them at Wrigley with the wind blowing out, and 1 at Fenway. And that doesn't include although I don't think the London games that Trigger referenced earlier between the Yankees and Red Sox got to 15.5. So this is a huge number. We'll see what happens tonight. Tonight is the feeling out process. Tomorrow is a Sunday night game that everybody is going to have their eyes on. But tonight's pitching matchup is what I will handicap, give out, and would likely use as a 3% play. And it's Joe Musgrove, who's making, I believe, only his second start of the season against Sean Manaea. and Mejia recently joined the Giants. Mejia is unquestionably a fly ball pitcher. Musgrove, he gives up some fly balls, lots of ground balls, more strikeouts. That definitely favors San Diego. San Diego also has more sluggers on that team. Mejia more susceptible to giving up home runs. So I think there's a clear favor in terms of San Diego. San Diego's favored for the game. They're the home team. So I don't like full game. I don't want to involve the bullpens because once you do that, it's a crapshoot. But I do love San Diego Padres laying a half a run in the first 5 for the rationale I mentioned. I think Musgrove was far more likely to keep the ball in the park than Mejia.
Musgrove has owned the Giants in recent history. Musgrove has the pitching advantage over Mejia, 6 point, or I think we're saying over a 6 ERA. It's been really bad for Sean Mejia, but I really like where you're leaning in this one out in Mexico. It's going to be a fun game, 15.5 total. Tony Mejia, before we let you go, remind everyone about what you have at Wager Talk today. I know you've got a 5% play. We've got MLB. Where can they find you? What do you have?
Yeah, we've got a 5% play up tonight. That's the only game tonight. Tomorrow we've got a game 7. Yay! We got a game 7, Megan. So we'll see what happens with Kings Warriors. Obviously, game 1 at Heat and the Knicks. So we'll have stuff on that. MLB has been rolling really well, 12 out of the last 17, and I'm pretty good at 4%. Money line plays really have been very selective on that this season. I think I've only done 1 or 2, but look out for my MLB. I like the card today too, so I'll populate some stuff with that. And then I have some time with the NBA playoffs having dwindled down to 10 teams at this point, or 9, to handicap international soccer. So we're going to start doing that. I've already done that this week with some success.
Mejia, I'm going to go grab that Chris Paul under 8.5 assists. That line seems too high for me. We appreciate you, as always, joining us here at Last Call, being patient. I know last to go on Saturday can get frustrating. We appreciate all of your time here, crushing it as always, 10-2, last 12, 5% plays. Thank you for joining us here. Go cash some tickets this Saturday.
Much appreciated. Have a great weekend.
That'll wrap up today's episode of Last Call at Wager Talk. Always love hearing from you guys in the chat. We're here every Thursday at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, and Saturday mornings, 11 a.m. Eastern. Always fun. Enjoy your Saturday. Go cash some tickets. We'll catch you here next time on Last Call.